Hi everyone, welcome to Writer's Corner. I'm Radrani and I'm from Tilsley Creative Writers. And once again, I'll be reading another chapter from this book. Lessons from the Ramayana by Sri Chawal Satchamurthy. And in today's video, I'll be reading Lesson 8 and I hope you like it. So, here we go. Lesson 8. Be a master of your fate and captain of your soul. We often find people falling prey to fatalism. At the back of fatalism is idleness. It is only those who are idle that yield to fatalism. A man who shuns labour and loves slumber lies on his couch imagining that someone comes and puts food in his mouth if he is fortunate. And if he is not fortunate, he will not get food even if he toils hard from dawn to dusk. This false thinking is only to justify his idleness. The belief that everything happens according to the decree writ on one's own forehead. The writ on Markandeya's forehead is that he lives only for 16 years. By his efforts, Markandeya gets that writ erased. He becomes a Chiranjeevi, immortal being. It clearly shows that man is the master of his fate. A person who is born poor will generally be denied opportunities to develop. There may be a spark in him, but chill penury represses his noble rage. Denied any type of education or training to a job, even if he wants to work and earn, he has to content himself with drudgery for a paltry wage. Steeped in gaping ignorance and gaunt poverty, he drags on a miserable existence. Such a drudge reconciles himself to his lot by recourse to fatalistic philosophy. The theory of karma, consequences of good and evil actions of previous births, tells us that a man is bound to reap the consequences of his actions, good or bad. Good actions earn merit, punyam, and bad actions earn sin, papam. The sight of any sufferer puts us in mind of the sins he has committed, and the sight of any enjoyer makes us think of the punyam, merit, of his previous births. This theory does not simply end with pity for the sufferer. This theory also shows the way out of suffering. If a man really believes in the theory of karma, he makes an all-out effort to atone for his sins and build for himself a good destiny. Even for the worst sinner, the silver line he sees in his cloud of misery is God's mercy. Man is the architect of his own destiny. This can be understood in two ways. The first is that in the hands of an industrious and intelligent man to strive hard and achieve greatness. Everything depends on hard work, willpower, and determination. It is only the power of continuous effort and infinite capacity to take pains that will deliver goods. Failure consists only in not striving. A man's inherent weakness of purpose alone throws unsurmountable hurdles. Man's confidence in his own powers make him shout, "Destiny is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of choice. It is not a thing to be waited for. It is a thing to be achieved." Ravana is an example for such tireless striving to achieve his object. In fact, every tyrant is an example of it. He performs severe tapas, penance, to please Brahma. Brahma is pleased with him and asks what he wants from him. Ravana asks for immortality. Brahma declines to grant it as he is not competent to grant immortality, he himself being not immortal. So Ravana demands that he should not die at the hands of gods, demons, beasts, birds, and so on. In the long list, He forgets to mention human beings and monkeys. That proves, of course, to be a fatal omission for him. Ravana performs worship of Lord Shiva and obtains from him a boon that his heads regrow themselves as quickly as they are lopped off, so none can roll his heads and kill him. Puffed up with pride because of the security granted by the boons, he begins to make use of his powers and skills in tormenting mankind. Here comes God in the form of destiny or fate. He interferes whenever a tyrant torments mankind. That interference may not be perceptible. The tyrant thinks that fate is against him as he meets with downfall. Here the lesson is that willpower, hard work and self-effort will not be crowned with success when the aim is to make use of those powers and skills in tormenting mankind. When we see a good boy working hard, we just encourage him by saying, "Put forth determined effort, you will certainly succeed. Full effort is full victory." But the same words do not escape our lips when a boy is going to Fagin's den to learn the art of picking pockets. We cannot say, "My dear boy, work on well. Your efforts never go in vain. You will become a perfect pickpocket." The reason is he is sure to end up in jail or at the gallows. Kumbhakarna is famed for his enormous strength. He has insatiable hunger. What would be the fate of animals and human beings if he were allowed to have his daily repast? So the merciful gods have perverted his reason and made him ask for the boon of continuous sleep for 6 months, with an interval of only 1 day in between. So his act of destruction is thus limited to only 1 day in a year. Indrajit is full of activity and dynamism. He has strong will. He puts forth sustained effort. By his penance and hard work, he attains eminence in warfare. He pleases the gods and obtains boons of immunity. Even Indra is powerless against him. Hence, he thinks he has no death. But he does not know how wonderfully God neutralizes the immunity from death granted by boons. The powers acquired by a cruel person by untiring self-effort lift him to a precipice only to make his fall terribly fatal. The examples of Ravana, Kumbhakarna, Indrajit, and a host of other demons and tyrants prove beyond any shadow of doubt that they are the architects of their doom, and that the powerful weapon of tireless striving and self-effort does not explode when the cause is not righteous. The second way of understanding the proverb, "Man is the architect of his own destiny," is concerned with the belief in the law of karma. If a man is in misery, we conclude that he has been reaping the bitter harvest of his past evil deeds. If a man is happy and prosperous, we conclude that he is reaping the benefits of his good deeds. Thus, we attribute suffering to sin and happiness to merit. Sometimes we see a good man, whom we expect to be happy and prosperous, suffer privation, discomfort, and misery. A man whom we expect to be unhappy and poor is often found to be enjoying plenty and prosperity. How is it possible? The present misery is traceable to past evil deeds, sin done by him, and the present prosperity is traceable to past good deeds, merit or punyam done by him. So the present misery or fortune has nothing to reflect on present badness or present goodness. A man will be able to reflect on the cause of his present misery, and he will try to get his sufferings ameliorated. Whenever a person strikes a bad patch, in the watches of the night he recalls all the deeds he has done and wishes some words unsaid and some deeds undone. He runs through the process of regret and repentance. The law of karma tells him that there may be sins committed in the previous birth also. So what is the solution? In the Ramayana, Sugriva undergoes torture at the hands of his brother Vali. Vali beats him severely and threatens to kill him. Sugriva is robbed of his wealth, his wife, and everything he needs to survive. This suffering may be due to his evil fate according to the law of karma. Herein comes self-effort to circumvent the injury inflicted by fate. Sugriva has the fortune of having a good friend, Hanuman. That is the good company he keeps. Thanks to the efficacy of good company, his mind becomes gentle and sattvic, and it makes it possible for him to take refuge in God. To Sugriva, Hanuman is good company, and Rama is God. He surrenders himself to Rama, and with his help regains prosperity. Sugriva's example shows that to tide over the effects of evil fate, one must keep company with the wise, Jnani, and surrender himself to God. It is only God's mercy that can remove suffering caused by evil fate. The law of karma is inexorable, but it ceases to be so when the victim is able to win God's mercy. A person who rolls in luxuries and owns millions is thought to be happy. A person who lives in a cottage and wears rags is considered to be unhappy. But it is not so. A man's felicity lies not in the outward and visible blessings of fortune, but in the inward and unseen riches and perfections of the mind. In the Ramayana, we see a number of learned sages like Vashishta, Vamadeva, Vishwamitra, Bharadwaja, Agastya, Atri, and a host of others. They live in hermitages and lead a simple life. Yet they are rich in happiness, wisdom, and spiritual glow. Their model of plain living and high thinking teaches us a lesson that to be happy, abundant wealth is not necessary. A man who has just sufficiency feels neither the pinch of want nor the plagues of wealth. So a man bent on penance, wisdom, peace, and poise prays for only just sufficiency to enable him to keep the body and soul together. He spends his time and energy in acquiring wisdom, preaching wisdom, and doing service to humanity. Such people are not lured by gold, power, and pleasures of flesh. Fortune cannot make a fool of them and divorce them from their virtue. Hence, they are the masters of their fate and captains of their soul. He who succumbs to the laws of riches and desires to own mansions, motor cars, and millions cannot be a master of his fate. In his efforts to own things of his choice, he commits sin, knowingly or unknowingly. So, along with the accumulation of wealth, there will be accumulation of sin also. He gloats over the former and ignores the latter. As time passes, the former ends in attenuation and the latter looms large, threatening to doom him to perdition. The saints and rishis we come across in the Ramayana show us that happiness is not in pleasures but in victory. The sage Vashishta, for example, has conquered internal enemies. That self-conquest lends him the halo. Fortunate are those who have secured his company. Where he is, there is no scope for darkness or ignorance to exist. Light and darkness cannot coexist. He has acquired powers to alter fate. Brahma asked Vashishta to be the family preceptor and priest, Purohit, to the family of kings belonging to Ikshvaku, the ancestors of Rama. Vashishta does not like being a Purohit as he feels it is beneath his dignity. Then Brahma tells him that in Treta Yuga, God is going to be born as son to King Dasharatha in the line of Ikshvakus, and it will give him a golden chance to be guru to God himself. So Vashishta, in his eagerness to be associated with the Lord, alters the order of yugas by his yogic power. Naturally, Dwapar Yuga precedes Treta Yuga, but Vashishta makes Treta Yuga precede Dwapar Yuga. Such is a victory the sages and rishis gain by their powers of penance and tapas. Thus, we have seen that to conquer fate, divine grace is absolutely necessary. Those who have won divine grace may appear to be undergoing troubles and tortures ordained by fate, but in reality, those troubles and tortures become a source of joy and blessings in disguise to those enjoying divine grace. It is ordained by fate that the Pandavas should undergo suffering and privation in the forest for 12 years. The Pandavas are the devotees of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna ever protects them. If we examine closely their life in the forest, we feel they are extremely happy in the forest. They prove that fear dwells in the palace of the king and peace dwells in the cottage of a sage or hermit. There are two reasons for their happiness in the midst of seeming misery and privation. One is the company of rishis they enjoy in the forest. Second is the company of a sage makes them take refuge in God and completely surrender themselves to God. The sun god, Surya, gives them a vessel, the food in which will be inexhaustible. They can entertain any number of guests and serve them sumptuous and wholesome food. They have plenty of opportunities to improve their wisdom and skills in the company of good men. Their stay in the forest has become a preparation for them to win the war against the Kauravas. Arjuna, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, is given a chance to see Lord Shiva and obtain from him a great weapon, Paspatastra. Bhima gets a chance to have the darshan of Hanuman. The embrace of Hanuman makes him stronger and inspires him a great deal. Thus, the seeming sufferings of the blessed devotees ceases to be injuries inflicted by adverse fate. They become blessings and boons. Self-effort, ceaseless striving, and capacity to take pains enable a man to achieve greatness and build a good destiny for him, provided he is righteous in his conduct. Divine grace enables him to be the master of his fate. We can conclude this lesson by quoting the memorable words of Dr. Radhakrishnan. Man is not a slot in the machine with predictable responses to outer stimulations. He is not a puppet in the hands of fate, nor a pawn in the cosmic chess to be moved by impersonal forces of nature, fate, or destiny. He is the master of his fate and the captain of his soul. The end. So that was the end of lesson 8, and I hope you liked it. Thank you for watching. Please click like, share and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video when I'll be reading lesson 9. Thank you. Bye.